wasn't too crazy loud in your ear, was it? It's probably louder from the room than in your headphones. Shabbat shalom, y'all. Let's go ahead and get this rolling. Where two or three are gathered together in my name, I will be there also in their midst. So there's two or three of us here. Let's get it rolling. Sorry about that. Let's do Exodus 1. If you don't have it pulled up on my screen share, you can pull it up in your Bibles. Going to be doing Exodus 1 through Exodus 6. So several chapters here in Exodus. And then we're going to go to Isaiah 27 through 29. And then Acts 7 and 1 Corinthians 14. Is the audio coming through your phone? On your phone, if you hit the microphone, the little up arrow, I think you might be able to select the TV output, but maybe not. Give them a second. See if they can get it going on the TV in there. Recap Exodus 1 through 6, Isaiah 27 through 29, Acts 7, and 1 Corinthians 14. Brooke, how's it going in there? Were you able to get it to the TV? That's okay.
Hit the up arrow and do all that. Like I can see the different speakers
Mm-hmm.
on the PC anyway.
Yeah,
All right, I'll be right there.
with my interface at home, I have to select my PreSonus specifically versus my Realtek built-in audio. So the book of Exodus here begins directly where Genesis left off. It's going to be listing the names or Shemot of the descendants of Israel, i.e. Jacob, who came down to Egypt to dwell in the land of Goshen. Then we go through, of course, the birth of Moses and how he's miraculously delivered from the waters of the Nile, to become a prince of Egypt. Well, test 1, 2, 3. You got the TV audio going, hopefully. Test 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Test TV audio. Test 1, 2, 3.
No, they don't get the up arrows on the.
All right, moving on. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Mitzrayim with Jacob, each one with his household: Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all of those who were descendants of Jacob were 70 beings, as Joseph was already in Mitzrayim. Excuse me. And Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased very much, multiplied and became very strong, and the land was filled with them. Then a new sovereign arose over Mitzrayim, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "See, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we. Come, let us act wisely towards them, lest they increase. And it shall be when fighting befalls us, that they shall join our enemies and fight against us, and shall go up out of the land." So they set slave masters over them to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. And the Mitzrites made the children of Israel serve with harshness, and they made their lives better with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. All their work which they made them do was with harshness. Then the sovereign of Mitzrayim spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, "When you deliver the Hebrew woman, and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live." But the midwives feared Elohim, and did not do as the sovereign of Mitzrayim commanded them, and kept the male children alive. So the sovereign of Mitzrayim called for the midwives and said to them, "Why have you done this, and kept the male children alive?" And the midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not like the Mitzrayim women, for they are lively, and give birth before the midwives come to them." So Elohim was good to the midwives, and the people increased and became very numerous. And it came to be, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he provided households for them. And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, "Throw every son who is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter." Pause right there. You guys have anything to... Well, I say you guys. Deezer. All right. I'm going to admit Tabby back in. Hi, Tabby. We can hear your
Hello.
microphone.
Hello.
Welcome.
Exodus chapter 2 now. Switch it here. Oops. I need Bible books.
I think it's great that the midwives lied and got blessed for it.
Oh, I know. That's what happens, when you're part of Israel and under covenant, and you get a little bit of that grace. I mean, I know this is pre-grace and all. The birth of Moses. And a man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bore a son. And she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months. And when she could hide him no longer, she took an ark of wicker for him, and coated it with tar and pitch, and put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the edge of the river. And his sister stood at the distance, to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it, and opened it, and saw the child, and see, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the children of the Hebrews." And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call you a nurse for you from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the young woman went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this child away and nurse him for me, then I shall pay your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, saying, Because I have drawn him out of the water. And in those days it came to be, when Moshe was grown, that he went out of his brothers and looked at their burdens. And he saw a Mitzrian striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers. So he turned this way and that way. And when he saw no one, he struck the Mitzrian and hid him in the sand. And he went out on the second day and saw two Hebrew men fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, Why do you strike your neighbor? And he said, Who made you a head and judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Mitzrian? And Moshe feared and said, Truly, the matter is known. And Pharaoh heard this matter, and he sought to kill Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. And the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. And they came to Reuel, their father, and he said, How is it that you have come so soon today? And they said, A Mitzrian rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock. And he said to his daughters, And where is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him, and let him eat bread. And Moshe agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah his daughter to Moshe. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom. For he said, I have become a sojourner in a foreign land. And it came to be, after these many days, that the sovereign of Mitzrayim died, and the children of Israel groaned because of the slavery. And they cried out, and their cry came up to Elohim because of slavery. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Yitzchak, and with Jacob. And Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew. And Moshe was shepherding the flock of Yithro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the back of the wilderness, and came to Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And the messenger of Yahuwah appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. And he looked, and he saw the bush burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, Let me turn aside now, and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. And Yahuwah saw that he turned aside to see, and Elohim called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Do not come near here. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is set apart ground. And he said, I am the Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Jacob. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look at Elohim. And Yahuwah said, I have indeed seen the oppression of my people who are in Mitzrayim, and have heard their cry because of their slave drivers, for I know their sorrows. And I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Mitzrites, and to bring them up from the land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And now, see, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Mitzrites oppress them. And now come, I am sending you to Pharaoh, to bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Mitzrayim. And Moshe said to Elohim, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Mitzrayim? And he said, Because I am with you, and this is to you the sign that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Mitzrayim, you are to serve Elohim on this mountain. And Moshe said to Elohim, See, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, The Elohim of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? And Elohim said to Moshe, I am that which I am. And he said, thus, you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. And Elohim said further to Moshe, thus, you are to say to the children of Israel, Yahuwah, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Jacob, have sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my remembrance to all generations. Go, and you shall gather the elders of Israel together, and say to them, Yahuwah, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, of Yitzhak, and of Jacob, appeared to me, saying, I have indeed visited you, and have seen what is done to you in Mitzrayim. And I say, I am bringing you up out of the affliction of Mitzrayim to the land of the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Pezerite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, to a land flowing with milk and honey. And they shall listen to your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, to the sovereign of Mitzrayim, and you shall say to him, Yahuwah, Elohim of the Hebrews, has met with us. And now, please, let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness to slaughter Yahuwah, our Elohim. But I know that the sovereign of Mitzrayim is not going to let you go, not even by a strong hand. And I shall stretch out my hand and strike Mitzrayim with all my wonders, which I shall do in its midst. And after that he shall let you go. And I shall give you this people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrites. And it shall be that when you go, you shall not go empty-handed. But every woman shall ask from her neighbor and from the stranger in her house objects of silver and objects of gold and garments, and you shall put them on your sons and your daughters, and shall plunder the Mitzrites. That's controversial.
I mean, that's pretty wild that you're going to plunder somebody by just saying, hey, can you give me these things? And then they give them to you. You know, like, it's the strangest war ever.
You know, if God be for us, who could be against us, sort of thing. So I think as long as we're in His will and moving where He wants us to move, and He is the light to our feet, then I think we're good. But I mean, that's obviously easier said than done, at least from my experience.
Yeah, and um, God calling Moses from the bush reminds me, it seems like he's calling Moses the exact same way as he called Abraham whenever the ram was in the bush.
Right? I didn't put that together, but I
The,
like
sa-
that.
the same, like, saying the name twice and all that good stuff.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to 4 here. Exodus 4. Moshe answered and said, and if they do not believe me, nor listen to my voice, and say, Yahuwah has not appeared to you. And Yahuwah said to him, what is that in your hand? And he said, a rod. And he said, throw it on the ground. So he threw it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moshe fled from it. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, reach out your hand and seize it by the tail. So he reached out his hand and took a hold of it, and it became a rod in his hand. So that they believe that Yahuwah Elohim of their fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Jacob has appeared to you. And Yahuwah said to him again, now put your hand in your bosom. And he put his hand in his bosom. And when he took it out, and see, his hand was leprous, like snow. And he said, put your hand in your bosom again. So he put his hand in his bosom again, and he drew it out of his bosom, and see, it was restored like his other flesh. And it shall be, if they do not believe you, nor listen to the voice of the first sign, then they shall believe the voice of the latter sign. And it shall be, if they do not believe even these two signs, or listen to your voice, that you shall take water from the river and pour it on the dry land. And the water which you take from the river shall become blood on the dry land. And Moshe said to Yahuwah, O Yahuwah, I am not a man of words, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. And Yahuwah said to him, who has made man's mouth? Or who makes dumb, or deaf, or seeing, or blind? Is it not I, Yahuwah? And now go, and I shall be with your mouth, and teach you what to say. But he said, O Yahuwah, please send by the hand of him who you would send. And the displeasure of Yoshe burned against Moshe, and the displeasure of Yahuwah burned against Moshe. And he said, is not Abraham the Levite your brother? I know that he speaks well, and see, he is also coming out to meet you. And when he sees you, he shall be glad in his heart. And you shall speak to him, and put the words in his mouth. And I am with your mouth and with his mouth, and I shall teach you what to do. And he shall speak for you to the people. And it shall be that he shall be a mouth for you, and you shall be a Elohim for him. And take this rod in your hand, with which you shall do the signs. Then Moshe went and returned to Yethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, please let me go and return to my brothers who are in Mitzrayim, to see whether they are still alive. And Yethro said to Moshe, go in peace. And Yahuwah said to Moshe in Midian, go, return to Mitzrayim, for all the men are dead who sought your life. So Moshe took his wife and his sons and set them on a donkey, and he returned to the land of Mitzrayim. And Moshe took the rod of Elohim in his hand. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, as you go back to Mitzrayim, see that you do all these wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I'm going to strengthen his heart, so that he does not let the people go. And you shall say to Pharaoh, thus said Yahuwah, Yisrael is my son, my firstborn. So I say to you, let my son go to serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, see, I am killing your son, your firstborn. And it came to be on the way, in the lodging place, that Yahuwah met him and sought to kill him. And Zipporah took a sharp stone to cut off the foreskin of her son and throw it at his feet, and said, you are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. So he let him go. Then she said, you are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. And Yahuwah said to Aaron, go to meet Moshe in the wilderness. And he went and met him on the mountain of Elohim and kissed him. Moshe then told Aaron all the words of Yahuwah who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. And Moshe went with Aaron and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. And Aaron spoke all the words which Yahuwah had spoken to Moshe. Then he did the signs before the eyes of the people. And the people believed, and they heard that Yahuwah had visited the children of Israel, and that he had looked on their affliction. And they bowed their heads and did obeisance.
So the ladies said twice Yah's displeasure burned against Moses, and yet he still used him.
For sure, you know.
And I wanted to point out something, but after I read that, I forgot what I was going to say.
That sounds an awful lot like grace. They didn't have grace back then, right?
I don't know. They keep saying that this grace stuff is a New Testament thing. It didn't come till Jesus. I don't know if it was his coming or his death or his ascension, or if it was like Acts 2 or mid Acts or late Acts, or maybe it was Paul. I don't know where grace comes in, but it's somewhere
Uh,
not here, apparently.
Well, the age of dispensation.
Oh, I have a question. Where did this brother Aaron come from? Like, did Moses know about Aaron? Like, because Aaron is obviously a Hebrew, because he knows all of the Hebrew elders. Moses thinks he's an Egyptian, or maybe he doesn't. Like, where does he find out, hey, you're not really an Egyptian, you're an Israelite? And oh yeah, you have this brother Aaron, he's really cool and he's a really good speaker. Like, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Is anyone else confused where this information is coming from? No, like, is it a surprise that he has a brother? Is it not a surprise? I want to
Well, in
know.
Exodus chapter 2, it makes mention that he was talking, it made reference to his brothers, but it didn't say that he called them brothers. So I just assumed when we were reading that he knew they were his long lost brothers. But, that was me reading in between the lines. If that, puts any light on your question.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, did he know Aaron was his brother? And, was he been in contact with his Hebrew brothers? Brooks says, always assume he found out after he killed the Egyptian man and fled. Let me pull this chat up here. And yeah,
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm curious. This would normally be where like Kaylee or Donna would chime in.
okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on to chapter 5 here. And afterwards, Moshe and Aaron went in and said to Pharaoh, thus said Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, let my people go, so that they celebrate a festival to me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is Yahuwah, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I do not know Yahuwah, nor am I going to let Israel go. And they said, the Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and slaughter to Yahuwah our Elohim, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. But the sovereign of Mitzrayim said to them, Moshe and Aaron, why do you take the people from their work? Get back to your burdens. And Pharaoh said, see, the people of the land are many now, and you make them cease from their burdens. And the same day Pharaoh commanded the slave drivers of the people and their foremen, saying, you are no longer to give the people straw to make bricks as before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves, and lay on them the required amount of bricks which they made before. Do not diminish it, for they are idle. That is why they cry out, saying, let us go and slaughter to our Elohim. Let more work be laid on the men, so that they labor in it, and not pay attention to words of falsehood. And the slave drivers of the people and their foremen went out and spoke to the people, saying, thus said Pharaoh, I do not give you straw. Go take straw for yourselves, wherever you find it, for your work shall not be diminished. And the people were scattered in all the land of Mitzrayim to gather stubble for straw. And the slave drivers were hurrying them on, saying, fulfill your actions, your daily matters, as when there was straw. Also the foremen of the children of Israel, whom Pharaoh's slave drivers had set over them, were struck and were asked, why have you not fulfilled your law in making bricks both yesterday and today as before? And the foreman of the children of Israel came and cried out to Pharaoh, saying, why do you treat our servants this way? There is no straw given to your servants. And they say to us, make bricks, and see, your servants are struck, but your own people are at fault. But he said, you are idle, you are idle. That is why you say, let us go and slaughter to Yahuwah. So now go, work. And straw is not given to you, but deliver the amount of bricks. And the foreman of the children of Israel saw that they were made in trouble after it was said, you are not to diminish your daily amount of bricks. And when they came out from Pharaoh, they met Moshe and Aaron and stood there to meet them. And they said to them, let Yahuwah look on you and judge you, because you have made us loathsome in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants, to give a sword in their hand to kill us. And Moshe returned to Yahuwah and said, Yahuwah, why have you done evil to this people? Why did you send me? For ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people, and you have not delivered your people at all. And it ends at 6:1, so I want to get to that real quick.
Does that ending remind you of coming to coming to Torah?
Oh, for sure. Let me finish this last little verse here, and then we'll talk about that some more. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, Now see what I do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand he is going to let them go, and with a strong hand he is going to drive them out of this land. Let me confirm that's it before I say that's the conclusion of the Torah. Yeah, to 6:1. So what do you mean, like, specifically about that, like coming out of or coming into Torah?
Oh, where it says, ever since you have sent me to speak in your name, you've done nothing but evil to your servants. Why is it that you even sent me? Because only evil has befallen these people.
Gotcha.
And then, whenever you come into Torah and you want to tell all your friends about it, it doesn't usually go over well for, whatever church you attend, or
Friends you have.
the circle of friends you have, or it's
There's a lot of zealousy too, and a lot of Torah terrorism comes from that when you first get involved and you find this new truth and you're excited about it and you want to share it, but your excitement and sharing the truth, gets you, I know what you're saying now, right, in this situation, you know, what have you done evil to this people? Why did you send me? Yeah. All right. Next is Isaiah 27, 6-28. And there's not 28, so how am I reading that wrong? I feel stupid. Isaiah 27, 6 through, 27, 6 through 28, 13. Derp. Gotcha. Sorry. Those who come, he causes to take root in Jacob. Yisrael shall blossom and bud, and they shall fill the face of the word with fruit. He has smitten him as he struck the ones who were striking him, or as a killer. Was he killed as he was killing? In measure, by sending her away, you contended with her. He shall take away by his rough wind in the day of the east wind. Therefore, by this the crookedness of Jacob is covered, and this is all the fruit of taking away his sin. When he makes all the stones of the slaughter place like chalk stones that are beaten to dust, Asherim and sun pillars rise no more. For the city of defense is lonely, a home forsaken and left like a wilderness. There the calf feeds, and there it lies down, and shall consume its branches. When its twigs are dry, they are broken off. Women come and set them on fire. for it is a people of no understanding. Therefore, he who made them has compassion on them, and he who formed them shows no favor. And in that day it shall be that Yahuwah threshes from the channel of the river to the wadi of Mitzrayim, and ye shall be gathered one by one, O children of Yisrael. And in that day it shall be that a greater shofar is blown, and those who are perishing in the land of Asher and in the outcast in the land of the Mitzrayim shall come and shall worship Yahuwah on the set apart mountain in Jerusalem. This makes me
So,
think of.
oh,
Go ahead. This makes me think of, the olive tree twigs being dry, and then coming back and being gathered one by one. And it's talking about in that day it shall be that a greater shofar is blown. And I think this is talking about our Messiah returning in the day of trumpets. Just me is what I'm seeing here prophetically. What were you going to say? Let me mute.
well, on what you were saying, yeah, I think that's like John 14 or 15, where it talks about the branches getting broken off and thrown in the fire.
Yep.
And then the connection between this and Exodus seems to be the brick making. And then it speaks about Yahuwah's temple, which is us, which we would be the individual bricks. So I mean, he's literally doing the same thing. He's making bricks and building buildings. Like it's just a beautiful big picture.
I like that painting. I like that. Let me look and see here. We are doing through 28:13. Woe to the proud crown of the drunkards of Ephraim, and to the fading flower of its splendid comeliness that is on the head of the fertile valley, to those who are overcome with wine. See, Yahuwah has one who is strong and potent, like a downpour of hell and a destroying storm, like a flood of mighty waters overflowing, who cast down to the earth with the hand. The proud crown of the drunkards of Ephraim is trampled under foot, and the fading flower of its splendid comeliness, that is, on the head of the fertile valley, like the first fruit before the summer, which when one sees it, he eats it up while it is still in his hand. And in that day Yahuwah of hosts is for a crown of splendor, and a headdress of comeliness to the remnant of his people, and a spirit of right ruling to him who sits in right ruling, and strength in those who turn back to the battle at the gate. And these two have gone astray through wine, and through strong drink wandered about. Priest and prophet have gone astray through strong drink. They are swallowed up by wine. They wander about through strong drink. They go astray in vision. They stumble in right ruling. For all tables shall be covered with vomit, no place without filth. Whom would he teach knowledge? And whom would he take to understand the message? These weaned from milk, those taken from the breast. For it is command upon command, command upon command, line upon line, line upon line, here a little, there a little. For with a jabbering lip and a foreign tongue he speaks to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest, give rest to the weary, and this is the refreshing. But they would not hear. But the word of Yahuwah was to them, command upon command, command upon command, line upon line, line upon line, here a little, there a little, so that they go and shall stumble backward and be broken and snared and taken captive. Yeah, 28, 20, 13. Then we're going to go to 29, verses 22 and 23.
1 second.
Of
Stay
course.
stay there. That's 28:10 through 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. Um, okay, so the Septuagint is a little different because this section has always confused me. It just sounds weird. So, here, I guess I could share.
What do you want to see?
Go to Brenton's Septuagint.
Oh,
On 2810.
there you go.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit for. Yeah, there we go.
Except now affliction. Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah, it's completely different. These four verses. Accept thou affliction on affliction, hope upon hope, yet a little and yet a little, by reason of the contentious words of the lips, by means of another language. For they shall speak to this people, saying to them, this is the rest to him that is hungry, and this is the calamity, but they would not hear. Therefore the oracle of God shall be to them affliction on affliction, hope on hope, yet a little and yet a little, that they may go and fall backward, and shall be crushed, and shall be in danger, and shall be taken.
That makes too much sense that way.
Right?
I like that. In fact, I'm
It's
going to finish reading in the Britain, and we'll compare too. But yes,
yeah, and it 28:9 is talking about to whom have we reported evils, and to whom have we reported a message, even to those that are weaned from the milk, who are drawn from the breast. I mean, this is like New Testament, like Hebrews language, talking about those weaned from milk and whatnot. Very interesting how this is completely different in the Septuagint.
yeah, I've got a comparison pulled up.
Almost as if, yeah, the Masoretic text kind of changes some things.
For sure. And when we're done, I want to point out the First Chronicles 35, 18 or 19, somewhere around there, I think, and show that out. In fact, let's just do it because why not? Oops. Actually, let's read the two verses in 29 since I'm right here. 22 and 23. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah, who ransomed Abraham concerning the house of Jacob. Jacob is no longer put to shame, no longer does his face grow pale. For when he sees his children, the work of my hands, in his midst, they shall set apart my name, and set apart the set apart one of Jacob, and fear the Elohim of Israel. Jacob is no longer put to shame, no longer does his face grow pale. Interesting analogy. All right, yeah, I want to go ahead and show for anybody out there in YouTube land. I guess it's Second Chronicles 35, 19. All right, guys. In the 18th year of the reign of Yoshiyahu, this Passover was performed. And this is the Septuagint. I'm going to go ahead and read it. In the 18th year of the reign of Josias, this Passover was kept after all these things that Josias did in the house. And King Josias burnt those who had in them a divining spirit, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and the sodomites, which were in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, that he might confirm the words of the law that were written in the book which Chelcias the priest found in the house of the Lord. There was no king like him before him, who turned to the Lord with all his heart, and all his soul, and all his strength, according to all the law of Moses, and after him there arose up none like him. Nevertheless, the Lord turned not from the anger of his fierce wrath, wherewith the Lord was greatly angered against Judah, for all the provocations wherewith Manasseh provoked him. And the Lord said, I will even remove Judah also from my presence, as I have removed Israel. And I have rejected the city which I chose, even Jerusalem, and the house of which I said, my name shall be there. Wow. That's way different than in the 18th year in the reign of Yoshiyahu was the Passover kept.
I love that name. Yoshiyahu.
It sounds Japanese.
Right? I mean, it's not quite Yahoo canon, but Yoshiyahu's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm gonna be trendy Hebrew and change my name to that.
Definitely one of the cooler Yahoos for sure.
All right, what is next? We've got Acts chapter 7, verse 17. 17 through 35. Acts 7. Down to 17. In the scriptures. And then.
Oh yeah, this is Stephen's testimony before he gets stoned. This is
Yeah,
another Moses standing before Pharaoh, only it doesn't go so well for Moses. Or I mean Stephen.
right?
Yeah. And then talking about deliverance, but yet just bringing curses on them. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing. The Messiah dies, and then they get persecuted and stoned and lit on fire and crucified and all sorts of other craziness. All
I
right,
can.
I'll stop and let you read.
Oh no, I can definitely see the comparison now. At least this week versus last week. I didn't really understand the parallel with why they were doing the different scriptures as much, but this one's a little more clear. You know. Yep, 17 through 35. I want to go ahead and do that. But as the time of the promise drew near, which Elohim had sworn to Abraham, the people increased and multiplied in Mitzrayim, until another sovereign arose who did not know Joseph. Having dealt treacherously with our race, this one mistreated our fathers, making them expose their babies, so that they should not live. And that time Moshe was born, and he was well pleasing to Elohim, and he was reared 3 months in the house of his father. And when he was exposed, the daughter of Pharaoh took him up and reared him as her own son. And Moshe was instructed in all the wisdom of the Mitzrites, and was mighty in words and works. Words and works? Uh-oh. And when he was 40 years old, it came in his heart to visit his brothers, the children of Israel. And seeing one of them being wronged, he defended and revenged him who was oppressed, smiting the Mitzrayim. And he thought that his brothers would have understood that Elohim would give deliverance to them by his hand, but they did not understand. And the next day he appeared to two of them as they were fighting, and urged them to peace, saying, Men, you are brothers. Why do you wrong one another? But he who was wronging his neighbor pushed him away, saying, Who made you a ruler and a judge over us? Do you wish to kill me as you killed the Mitzrayim yesterday? And at this saying, Moshe fled and became a sojourner in the land of Midian, where he fathered 2 sons. And after 40 years were completed, messenger of Yahuwah appeared to him in a flame of fire in a bush in the wilderness of Mount Sinai. And Moshe, seeing it, marveled at the sight, and coming near to look, the voice of Yahuwah came to him, saying, I am the Elohim of your fathers. the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Jacob. And Moshe trembled and did not have the courage to look. But Yahuwah said to him, Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is set apart ground. I have certainly seen the evil treatment of my people who are in Mitzrayim, and I have heard their groaning, and have come down to deliver them. And now come, let me send you to Mitzrayim. This Moshe, whom they had refused, saying, Who made you a ruler and a judge? This one Elohim sent to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the messenger who appeared to him in the bush. This one led them out, after he had done wonders and signs in the land of Mitzrayim, and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years. I think maybe I was supposed to stop at 35. Yep. Uh-oh, I spoiled it for next week, guys.
Oh no. X7, what is it? Yeah, 39. No, I'm sorry, 38. Is talking about the lively oracles, or the oracles of God, which is what was referred to in Isaiah that we were reading earlier.
Okay.
Out of the Brenton, which even more so makes me think that
Oh, yeah, dirt.
the oracles and milk, being weaned from milk, and all that scenery
Uh-huh.
is tied back to that as well. Very interesting. I
I
never
like
noticed
that.
that connection until I checked it out. But whenever you're reading it, the Isaiah, the precept upon precept and line upon line, like that section has just always been strange hearing it. It just always makes my brain tick. And so while you're reading it, I checked it out in the Septuagint, and I was like, well, this is way different. And now that we checked it out, it's a lot easier to see in the New Testament. So
I almost think
I think that's sorts out the issue.
I think anytime you want, a better understanding, or just anytime, I think it's a good idea to always break out the Septuagint and, take a look at it there as well. I'm not saying, it's thus says God or that everything else is wrong, but it seems like it has a lot more in it than you get with the Masoretic text. I don't know. That's just me and my 2 cents. But
All right, where to next, or is that it?
nope. 1 Corinthians 14, 18 through 25. 1 Corinthians 14, 18 through 25. Oop. I want to go ahead and just top it off here. I thank my Elohim, I speak with tongues more than you all. But in an assembly, I wish to speak 5 words with my understanding, that I might instruct others also, than 10,000 words in a tongue. Brothers, do not be children in your thinking, but in evil be babes, and in your thinking be perfect. In the Torah it has been written, With the men of other tongues and other lips I shall speak to this people, and even so they shall not hear me, says Yahuwah. So then tongues are for a sign, not to those who believe, but to unbelievers. And prophesying is not for unbelievers, but for those who believe. Go to 25. And then all the assembly comes together in one place, and all speak with tongues. And there come in those who are unlearned or unbelievers. Shall they say that you are mad? But if all prophecy and all unbeliever or an unbeliever or an unlearned one comes in, he is reproved by all, he is discerned by all. And so the secrets of his heart are revealed. And so, falling down on his face, he shall worship Elohim, declaring that Elohim is truly among you. So, talking about speaking in tongues here, JD, I'm going to need you to define this. Is this a charismatic style, like Pentecostal going? Or is this talking about translations of tongues to other people, or what you thinking here, buddy?
I think this is most definitely speaking other languages. It's definitely not Babel. I was looking at the Torah portions because I have Matthew 2 instead of First Corinthians and Acts, but
Okay,
it looks like they all fit. I definitely like yours better than the one I picked out. We should have definitely gone to the right place. I'm going to fix the YouTube description now.
right.
But yeah, definitely an awesome Torah portion.
Let's take a peek here. It's called Shemot, which means names. So very interesting. Right here it says, "So then tongues are for a sign. So JD, you have to speak in complete and utter babble for me to know that you are saved, and for others to believe." I mean, that's just truth right there, buddy. Sorry, little toe stepping on your toes there, buddy. Uh, so, what do you think it means here when it says, "And so the secrets of his hearts are revealed," and so falling down on his face? Is that just by speaking plainly and not in other languages that he understands, and the Spirit sort of gives him what's the word I'm looking for? A burden, if you will, to want to repent, or a call to repent. I don't know, just thinking out loud here.
Which verse are we talking about?
Um, the First Corinthians 14:25. And so the secrets of his heart are revealed, and so falling down on his face, he shall worship Elohim, declaring that Elohim is truly among you. This is in reference to those, um, in the church, um, using tongues for a sign, but using them all the time in the assembly is not good. But if but if all prophecy and an unbeliever, all unlearned comes in, he is reproved by all, he is discerned by all. If you speak plainly, I don't know.
Um, so it's talking about unbelievers and which sign is going to be better. And so
Okay,
it's saying that if all of you are speaking in tongues for a sign, not to those who believe, but to unbelievers, and blah, blah, blah. So then if all the assembly comes together in one place and all are speaking in tongues, and there comes in those who are unlearned or unbelievers, shall they not say that you are mad? So if you walk into a building and everyone's speaking all these strange languages and you don't know,
what they're saying.
yeah, well, not even that, but just, if you don't know what Russian is or Hebrew or um,
A foreign language.
yeah, like what these foreign languages are, then it may not even sound like language to you, you know. And
So they
so it's
would
much,
sound mad.
yeah, so they would sound bad. And so, but he's saying, but if all of you prophesy and an unbeliever or an unlearned one comes in, he, the unlearned or the unbeliever, is reproved by all, he is discerned by all, and so the secrets of the unbeliever or unlearned one, his heart are revealed, and so falling down on his face, he, the used to be unbeliever and unlearned one, declaring that Elohim is truly among you. So, yeah, the signs aren't for the church, the signs are for the unbelievers.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was saying, just not as
Right.
articulate.
Sorry. I hope I sounded dumb there because I missed it.
All right, let me pull up this portion website from Hebrew for Christians. Let's do table talk. Excuse me. What does the word Exodus mean?
I just thought about it. Isaiah was talking about coming to them with a foreign tongue and speaking to them in a strange language. Like, even Moses did that. He was an Egyptian. Like, he could have, spoke Egyptian to them. Granted, like, he probably didn't, but he could have. He was a somewhat person of a foreign language or tongue. Uh, Granted, he probably knew Hebrew from growing up in Pharaoh's household and just, being educated and whatnot, but it's very strange how it's just all cycles.
Mm-hmm. It's like when we speak to our Egyptian buddies, not literally Egyptian, but to our, people out there in the world. I think it's good to use their language and their names, aka Jesus versus Yeshua, especially if it gets them closer. Otherwise, you could push them away, like, Boker Tov, May Yahuwah Baruch you, and like
Right,
overload
right.
them with the
Yep.
whole, you know,
Hebrish.
exactly. I mean, that's kind of cool. I get it. It's fun, but I think there's a time and place for it too.
Definitely, definitely.
Well, that's all I've really got outside of, jumping into some of these questions. Anybody else have any table talk points we want to bring up, or we want to conclude it and actually meet at a table?
Yeah, I guess we might as well. I don't see anything anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, until next week, guys. Shalom.
Shalom.